So, our first and the most common vulnerability is XSS, which stands for cross-site scripting. Let me tell you how cross-site scripting works. The hacker injects a trusted website with some malicious script. The victim visits the trusted website and triggers malicious script. Victims' browsers execute malicious script and unknowingly forward desired information. Cross-site scripting is using the website interface to get the victim information by injecting malicious payloads. There are three types of XSS, which is reflected, stored and DOM based XSS. Reflected XSS is a type of XSS when the malicious script is reflected onto the web page itself, and the hacker can inject any malicious payload onto that particular thing to get the user cookie. Stored XSS is basically referring to when the hacker injects some malicious payload onto the victim's server or the website server and get any desirable information out of that without using any phishing or social engineering methods. The last one is DOM based XSS, which is a bit of tricky. So let me explain it with the help of an example. Firstly, the attacker crafts a URL containing the malicious string and sends it to the victim, right? Then the victim opens the link with the malicious URL from the website. Then the website gives it the request which does not contain the malicious string, right? Till here the process is neutral. Then the browser executes the legitimate script inside the response received from this particular website, causing the malicious script sent by this hacker to the user, and the user is hacked. So this is DOM based XSS. You can basically call it a stealth XSS, where the direct hacking is not done without the website being known that the hacking is done. All the bad stuff is done by the hacker to the user end, and this website is just a way of doing it. Hope you understand it. In the next module, we will learn how to hunt for XSS. In this particular lab, we will be hunting for the reflected XSS onto a web page. This is a testing platform named PortSwigger, where we will be looking for the reflected XSS. Before starting, I will tell you the most particular places where you can hunt for XSS. They can be search boxes, comment sections, forums, chatbots, or anything which requires an input from you. My recommendation onto this bug hunting journey would be you have to clear your HTTP history. This allows you to do your penetration testing in a much efficient way. Let me put something into this search box. Let's say I type in hello. My hello is reflected back to me. That means there might be a chance of reflected XSS. Going to the HTTP history, we see that when we provided a hello onto this string, it gives me back a response saying hello, which is prominent from here. So for testing the reflected XSS, we will inject a malicious payload, which is script alert script tag close, which is the most basic HTML code for testing reflected XSS. When I would click on search, it gives me a pop-up saying 1. So this is an example of reflected XSS. You can report it to companies if you find it anywhere. In this lab, we will be practicing stored XSS. As I have already told, stored XSS is very different from reflected XSS because the server takes response from us and the malicious payload goes back to the server and it's executed there, thus it's executing onto the backend. So this is a website where we have to perform the stored XSS. Let's click on the view post option, as there is no comment box out here, so we have to identify the place where we can execute things. Scrolling downwards, we can see a number of people who have put on their comments. So when we put a comment in here, this comment gets stored on the system server and gets reflected here. So this can be a form of stored XSS. What we will do, we will inject the malicious payload in the comment section saying alert 1 script tag close and giving my name as Arman and my email and website as ABCD, and then post the comment. It says give us a requested format, so we will give it abc.com. What exactly it is requiring, I guess this, yeah. So when we did this, the lab is solved. How we came to know that this lab is solved, when we will come back to the blog, it gives me an XSS because we injected a malicious payload on the system server and we did the stored XSS. The priority level of stored XSS is much higher than the reflected XSS, as we can tamper the request of the server by using this. Thank you. In this illustration, we will hunt for a XSS. So we see a dialog box, we will enter hello here and we will click on search, right? So on giving a search, it doesn't give me an XSS. Don't go on to this thing. This says solved, as I have already solved this lab. It says hello, but our hello is reflecting. So as the previous video, we will try to inject a HTML payload. This dialog box makes our HTML payload a text. Let's see how this happened. For knowing this, we will right click on the web page, go to the view page source, then we will do Ctrl F and search for alert 1. It basically concatenated my greater than less than signs and turned my payload into a string. This usually happens when the developers of the website are smart and they know that any hacker can try to do the XSS. In these scenarios, we will change our payload. We will change our payload to this. This stands for we are closing the predetermined HTML query on the backend and giving it a new query of onloading the SVG file and giving an alert as one. This is an example of DOM XSS. So we will click on search and see the pop-up is done. So we have to craft custom queries in order to do XSS. Now the question arises, where can you learn these things to craft a custom HTML query for the XSS to run? So there is a website known as prompt.ml which could help you practice the XSS techniques. So type in hello and enter the input as hello1. This shows you how the backend would interpret your query. So we will run a basic HTML script here to see how the backend would react. Script alert 1 and script tag close. Script tag close. And it doesn't give me a output because this particular value made my string a random text. What I would do is I would close this first. Let me explain you how I did. See, this was a HTML query which was starting from here. For making it an ending, I again put a colon and the greater than sign to close it. On doing this, from this part, it starts a new HTML query which helps us to run the command. So the first part is solved. Let's move on to the other part. So the other website is loading, or the other task is loading. So we will do the same thing. We will write hello, and this time there are no HTML tags, rather it says an article. So we will craft a custom query of an SVJ onload. But this time also it doesn't execute. See, it doesn't execute. So you can practice things here, but to overcome this query, what you need to do is you need to use your burp suite. Let me tell you how. Let's take an example of test.php.vulnweb.com. We type in hello out here and let me capture its response. I turned the intercept on and my burp suite and Firefox are configured together. When I clicked on go, it intercepted the response. For further studying it, I take it to repeater and intercept off. So let me make it big. So on passing a search for hello, it says me, when I search for hello in the response, it says hello. So how we know that a particular HTML code would work here for the XSS? There is an automation technique of doing that. Once you get a reflection of an XSS in your response, you can automate the process. You can send this query to the intruder. You need to clear all the pre-specified tags it contains. You have to click clear, and you want to inject your payload onto this particular thing. So you have to double click on it and click on add. Now you have to click on payloads and you want to choose a payload list you need to execute. I would click on load and I have a pre-specified list of XSS. Let me search for it. Or if you don't have, let's say, see, I have a list of XSS payloads. These are hundreds of XSS payloads. You can get this list from anywhere on the internet, and let me tell you how you can get it. You can simply write XSS payloads list and you can write GitHub. You can download the payload list from here. On running this attack, and this would give a status code of 200. Always remember, if the code is executed, the length of all other requests would be greater than the first request, which is a null payload. The length of this request is 4991, and if our code is successfully executed, the length would be greater. So we will sort this thing. We will double click on it and we will sort. See, the length of everything is much bigger than the null query. Let's take this example. I want to see its response. I would right click here and I would say request in show response in browser. I would copy and I would paste it. See, it's loading. So in this manner you can inject a number of payloads, and if it's working, the length would be greater than the null payload. So this was all for XSS. Hope you understand.